Hey G, and welcome back, guys. I think this is our 8th episode, and we've covered such a lot in the past few weeks. I think in the last episode, we spoke about purchasing wine for investment or pleasure, as well as storage. And today we are decanting or unbottling, or if you want to call it uncorking. What goes into the process? I myself enjoy uncorking a bottle of wine. And today we're going to cover it, especially when you've purchased wine for long-term pleasure. But yeah, so you bought a wine. In my case, I bought these, the Shiraz, the Golden Triangle Stellenbosch wine a couple of years ago. I think this is my last bottle. It's a 2009 Shiraz, and I've decanted it, and I hope that you can see. I'm just going to come to the front. If you look at the bottle there, you'll see some of the sediment, which is bound to happen because the wine is fairly aged. And I'm sure when we get to the bottom of the decanter, there will be some sediment in there as well. When I poured this wine, immediately the room was just full of, I think it's like chocolatey cocoa fragrance. It was just so overwhelming. And the reason why I decanted the wine is because obviously it's been stored for so long. So I'm just giving the wine air to breathe. I'm letting it aerate. I'm letting those fragrances come through so that I don't just automatically sip the first one. And this wine will continue developing in the glass and in the decanter as the night goes on or as this program progresses. The reason why we decant, and I'm sure you've wondered when you go to a restaurant and you order a glass of wine and somebody brings it to you, or the waitress or the sommelier brings it to you, they ask you to nose the wine. They ask you to nose the wine because you need to test that the wine is not corked or tainted, for that matter. How do you know the wine is corked or tainted? Okay, you will know. I will tell you. It will smell like a moldy mop or something old and wet that was left there. Sometimes it smells like boiled egg, or just, I don't know, like a can. Okay. I shouldn't have seen that. I'm going to start again. Okay. So how do you know a wine is corked or tainted? You will know immediately. Believe me, when the waiter brings it to your nose and you smell boiled egg, or you smell a wet, moldy mop or something fishy, literally, that is when you know it is off. And if you don't smell it, if your nose is not at that level where you can, some people's got a good sense of smell, some people don't. When you drink the wine, there will be nothing. It will be dull. It will be lifeless. You will get there will absolutely be nothing on your palate, and that's how you know that the wine is corked or it's tainted. And you can then either ask the waiter to bring it back, take it back, or bring you a replacement wine. Just be assured that most of the time they would have nosed the wine already, so they're just asking you to confirm that it is the wine that you've ordered. I don't think you should be sending a bottle back if you just ask them to open a 1,500 bottle. So it's merely a formality in order for you to know that what you've ordered is in fact what is in the glass. So we've covered so many basics, but I think when it comes to unbottling or uncorking a bottle of wine that's of an older vintages, in the last episode we also covered the cork. So I've purposefully I brought along 2 wines, the ones I've already introduced you. This cork, as you can see, still moist on the outside. I actually don't know what type of cork this is, but you can see that there's no cork damage, which is always a plus, because sometimes the cork disintegrates and it really leaves a mess which you just cannot fix. The other wine that I've also bought a couple of years ago is one of my favorites. It's from the Toitskloof cellar. It's a 2013 Nebbiolo, and this one is a screw cap. So I'm not going to open this one purely because it's just too good and it's just not ready yet. But I just want to show you that it doesn't, whether it's in a cork or whether it is screw cap, it doesn't take away from the quality of the wine that is inside the bottle, because the cork is still very much in place in the 2009 Stellenbosch, as well as in the Toitskloof. The screw cap is still, the seal is on. You'll see that there's no damage whatsoever. There's no place for the wine to even start leaking. So I'm looking forward to that. So decanters, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg on a decanter. This decanter I purchased from Checkers stores. I think it was 190 Rand. I could be mistaken, but it was definitely not more than 200 Rand. It looks gorgeous and it does the job in aerating the wine, bringing out those flavors. Not only does it look good on your dinner table, but it really helps further develop the wine in the glass. So, unlike whiskey, wine develops. It further develops in the bottle. So if somebody was a collector, or myself, if I were to look for Stellenzig 2009, because this wine just means so much to me, I would not be paying, I doubt I will be paying 200 Rand a bottle now at this stage, because if the wine was cellared correctly and stored correctly, and I feel that it means a lot to me, I would be willing to pay a huge amount for this type of wine. And that's why storage is so important when it comes to investing into wine to drink at a later stage. So you don't want to open a 2009 wine and then be disappointed by what's inside the bottle purely because of storage. Yeah, so many people don't age white wines. I am a fan of aged white wines, especially Chardonnay and Semillon. I love what it does, Viognier as well. There's so many white wines that really develop over time. And you can store, you can uncork, you can decant, you can add it, you can pair it with so many delicious dishes and just watch it further develop into something beautiful over the years. That's all from my side, guys. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop your comments in the comment section and let me know if you ventured out and bought some wines for investment. If you need any recommendations, you can do so as well. Until next time, cheers.
So in the last episode, we spoke about storing your whiskey, right? So you stored your whiskey, you bought your bottle, you stored it. I've had this one in the cupboard for about maybe 3-4 years. Whiskey makers don't make whiskey for you they didn't keep it for 15 years in American white oak barrels and then transfer it to sherry casks for the remainder of its time till it hit 18, and then marry it together to give you this amazing, smooth, very fragrant whiskey, just so you can keep it in your cupboard for another 8 years. It's not aging anymore when it's in there. And to answer the question if whiskey goes bad, yes, it does. Whiskey does go bad. You lose all the fragrance, all the tones that you would have gotten when it was actually bottled. The further away it goes from it being bottled, and again, like we spoke in the last episode, if you store it wrong, then you lose all of that kind of stuff. So you do want to open it. And today we want to talk about what happens after you've opened it, So the ratio to opening your whiskey is, you don't want to have, I see a lot of whiskey collectors have 300 open bottles, and they take forever to go through those bottles, So generally when I open a bottle, particularly an 18-year-old or something quite aged and rare, I wouldn't keep it longer than a year, like I said in the last episode, because once it's open, the oxidation process is happening. And every time you're pouring it and doing that, oxidation's happening in there. Someone asked, what is oxidation doing to the whiskey? Well, think of it like rust. If I put this in here and pulled it out and left it wet, it's going to begin to oxidate, it's going to rust, and eventually just turn out to be some bad piece of metal. And that's the same thing that happens to your whiskey. It will technically rust. Let's call it rusting. And you lose those, like in here, there's a lot of creamy tones, some vanilla. What it is to the nose now versus what it will be when it gets somewhere down here is going to be a different thing, but also based on how long I keep it open, how long I take to get through to the bottom of the bottle. That's why you don't want to have 400 of your special bottles open at the same time within the same year, unless you're going to kill it within that year. And let's, as collectors, we tend to want to have our whiskey for quite some time. To the nose, this is very, very fig. See, vanilla is a very common thing in a lot of white oak whiskeys, white American oak whiskeys. Vanilla is definitely always going to be there. This surprisingly has heavy fig coming out of it. And sometimes I'll go and get the fruits and cut them in half and just kind of balance myself between that. That's how you kind of train yourself to pick up these notes on the fly. Most times you really won't get it on the fly. With the 18-year-old, which is why I'm sitting down, is because this is such an elegant drink. You can kind of see the box they put it in. This is a very beautiful box with a nice little story inside. It deserves time. Like I think the effort they went through to do this for this exceptionally rare whiskey deserves just to sit down and just, from your first little dram, which is Great question. Pairing your whiskey, it's a journey as well, it's a journey because sometimes, the bars just give you chips and nuts and raisins to keep you hungry, thirsty, so you continue buying more to drink. I've learned when it comes to pairing, you want to do it in a peaceful environment, actually, because again, as we said in the previous episode, how you see something, smell something, taste something, these things are kind of connected, just seeing the color, for me says a lot of things. And then smelling the aromas says a different thing, and then the finish, which is my taste, brings back different things. And for instance, with the OnTheRealGee, it is a very fruity, smooth, creamy. You get a lot of fig in the beginning, but in your finish, you're getting some nuts, some honey, some vanilla, maybe fudge for some reason. I don't know, for some reason, sometimes I get fudge finish out of it. So if I was starting out, I would have probably paired it with something similar because of the fruitiness. I would be like, okay, cool, let me go get a fig and cut it and taste the fig, And then I'm like, ooh, because I can smell the fig, I want to taste the fig with it. So, but as I went up on the journey and continued, I got to a point where just understanding that this is smooth and creamy, I want to balance out with what I'm eating. So I would totally pair this with something spicy. It could be anything. If it was a full meal, could be curry, could be tikka chicken, could just be chili livers from Nando's, I would do that because really chili poppers, some jalapeno poppers, because of the smooth creaminess. So think of when you go to a restaurant and you order curry. They give you curry, and if it's really hot, they have a little bowl of yogurt on the side. This is like my yogurt to my curry. So instead of the yogurt, I've got this. Eat a really hot curry, nose, take it down. So as it's in my mouth between my food, it's as well refreshing my mouth, so I can taste more of the curry and more of this and kind of get that balance. It's a nice cut between spicy and bring back that nice balance to your palate. That's what it does for me. Whiskey is a personal journey, but at the same time, there's certain things that are kind of like basic.